Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjala-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Sajivam Sadhavetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripi Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivachadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, welcome you all once again to today's session of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, can you just repeat that Hare Krishna, that what you have said it, so some people who are watching in YouTube, they also get benefited, Prabhuji.
Okay, sure, Mataji. Yes. So I heard this recently, like when we do Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, because the chanting of the Lord's name, it forms 99% of our foundation. The entire devotional service, its foundation, 99% is covered by chanting. Srila Prabhupada has said this. Now, when chanting is so important, we are required to be a PhD individually. All of us have to be a PhD in chanting. Now, so for chanting, most important thing comes that next is hearing. When we chant, we should hear our Mahamantra also, so that Lord can go inside and He can transform our heart. So for hearing, right, we are going step by step, right? Devotional service. Chanting is most important. When we chant, we have to hear. How we hear? When the very first word, Hare, when we invoke Srimati Radharani's mercy, then she can help us to focus on rest of the Mahamantra also. So very first Hare, if when we chant, if we hear that, then there are very, very high chances that rest of the Mahamantra also we will be able to hear. And because it is not a very long-term experiment, right? We can just speak, we can just immediately experience. So pay your full focus, full attention on first Hare. And then surrender to Radharani. Let us request for her mercy so that rest of the Mahamantra also be here. And if this entire foundation is strong, right, then this is one of the important thing in our whole devotional life. Thank you, Mataji. So,
thank you, Prabhuji.
So we will start with the today's shloka. I will share my screen. So it is shloka number 12.5 onwards. Can someone please confirm if my screen is visible and I'm audible properly?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Prabhu, it's fine.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, Prabhuji, yes, please.
Hare Krishna.
10.5.
क्लेशोऽधिकरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिः अवाप्यते.
Yes. Please continue the book translation and first
Oh.
paragraph.
Translation. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal future of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
Yes,
Can I read
first paragraph also you can read. Yeah, please continue.
Perfect by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
The group of transcendentalists who follow the path of the inconceivable, unmanifested, impersonal future of the Supreme Lord are called Jnana Yogis.
Jnana Yogi. Yes.
And persons who are in full Krishna consciousness engaged in devotional service to the Lord are called Bhakti Yogis. Now, here the difference between Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is definitely expressed. The process of Jnana Yoga, although ultimately bringing one to the same goal, is very troublesome, whereas the path of Bhakti Yoga, the process of being in direct service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is easier and is natural for the embodied soul. The individual soul is embodied since time immemorial. It is very difficult for him to simply, theoretically understand that he is not the body. Therefore, the Bhakti Yogi accepts the deity of Krishna as worshipable because there is some bodily conception fixed in the mind which can thus be applied. Of course, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form within the temple is not ideal worship. There is evidence in the Vedic literature that worship may be saguna or nirguna of the supreme processing or not possessing attributes. Worship of the deity in the temple is saguna worship, for the Lord is represented by material qualities, but the form of the Lord, though represented by material qualities such as stone, wood, or oil, paint, is not natural, is not actually material. That is the absolute nature of the Supreme Lord. A crude.
Thank you, Prabhu. I mean, can I request some other so that
Yes.
everyone gets the chance? Thank you. Someone else wants to read?
Hare
Yes, Sudha
Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
A crude example may be given here. We may find some mailboxes on the street, and if we post our letters in those boxes, they will naturally go to their destination without difficulty. But any old box or an imitation which we may find somewhere but which is not authorized by the post office will not do the work. Similarly, God has an authorized representation in the deity form which is called Archa Vigraha. This Archa Vigraha is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. God will accept service through that form. The Lord is omnipotent, all-powerful. Therefore, by his incarnation as Archa Vigraha, he can accept the services of the devotee just to make it convenient for the man in conditioned life. So for a devotee, there is no difficulty in approaching the Supreme immediately and directly. But for those who are following the impersonal way to spiritual realization, the path is difficult. They have to understand the unmanifested representation of the Supreme through such Vedic literatures as the Upanishads, and they have to learn the language, understand the non-perceptual feelings, and realize all these processes. This is not very easy for a common man. A person in Krishna consciousness engaged in devotional service simply by the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, simply by offering regulative obeisances unto the deity, simply by hearing the glories of the Lord, and simply by eating the remnants of foodstuffs offered to the Lord, realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. There is no doubt that the impersonalists are unnecessarily taking a troublesome path with the risk of not realizing the absolute truth at the ultimate end. But the personalist, without any risk, trouble, or difficulty, approaches the Supreme Personality directly. A similar passage appears in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is stated here that if one ultimately has to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this surrendering process is called bhakti, but instead takes the trouble to understand what is Brahman and what is not Brahman and spends his whole life in that way, the result is simply troublesome. Therefore, it is advised here that one should not take up this troublesome path of self-realization because there is uncertainty in the ultimate result. A living entity is eternally an individual.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Mataji,
Krishna,
I request
Hare
someone
Krishna.
else.
Okay, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yes. Who else wants to read? Durga Mataji will read the last paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji.
Krishna.
A living entity is eternally an individual soul, and if he wants to merge into the spiritual whole, he may accomplish the realization of the eternal and knowledgeable aspects of his original nature. But the blissful portion is not realized. By the grace of some devotees, such an transcendentalist, highly learned in the process of Jnana Yoga, may come to the point of Bhakti Yoga or devotional service. At that time, long practice in impersonalism also becomes a source of trouble because he cannot give up the idea. Therefore, an embodied soul is always in difficulty with the unmanifest, both at the time of practice and at the time of realization. Every living soul is partially independent, and one should know for certain that this unmanifested realization is against the nature of the spiritual blissful self. One should not take up this process. For every individual living entity, the process of Krishna consciousness, which entails full engagement in devotional service, is the best way. If one wants to ignore this devotional service, there is the danger of turning to atheism. Thus, the process of centering attention on the unmanifested, the inconceivable, which is beyond the approach of the senses, as already expressed in this verse, should never be encouraged at any time, especially in this age. It is not advised by Lord Krishna. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you, sir. So here Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain that these two paths of self-realization, which is the impersonal path, right? The Jnana Yoga and the Bhakti Yoga. So someone may say if the result is to achieve the Lord, then we can take any path. And then finally we are going to reach the same Lord. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, no, they both are not same. And what are the difficulties, okay, which comes when we follow the Jnana Marga. And even after facing those difficulties, what result we get at the end, that is explained in both the marks, the merits and demerits of both. So in order to know how lucky, how fortunate we are, it is very important to be fully convinced. And in order to be convinced, it is also very important to know what are the difficulties in other marks, and so that we can truly appreciate it. Our business is not the Jnana Marga. Our business is the Bhakti Marga. But so that we do not get influenced by the flowery language of other margas, Jnana Marga, Karma Marga, and other sampradayas, it is very important that we know how we are fortunate. Idea is not to make anybody else influence. Idea is to save ourselves. Okay, and if we are saved, we can truly help even in preaching. But the first preaching starts from ourselves. That comes next. So, and this is in Jnana Marga and Bhakti Marga can be understood with the help of an example, wherein suppose there is some very long time planned holiday destination, And after a lot of struggle, after accumulating the money, booking the tickets, assuming everyone's health is okay, finally we take the flight and we reach to the destination. Now, in that destination, what if the members of the family are just there? They are not speaking to each other. They are not. There is no reciprocation of any action, any love, right? We are just there, very silent. So we can get the answer immediately in our heart that there is not much use of such such holidays, because though that place is very it was a dream place to be there, and then right, but we are personal, okay, we are Jiva, we all want to speak to each other, we want to share our feelings, share our understanding, okay, we are, it is very natural. This is what has been mentioned in the purport also. We are saguna, right, with the qualities, with we want to reciprocate, okay, but somehow, okay, if and this impersonalist marg, right, the Gyan marg, that is nirguna, because we are just focusing only on the impersonal feature of the Lord. Impersonal feature means Lord does not have a form, he only has sound, or he only has light. Sound and light can come from a person. From a sound, the person cannot come. It is a very small thing. We all can understand, right? So, there is no point in spending a lot of time, like Prabhupada has mentioned, in learning the Sanskrit language, then the Upanishads, then following those practices, then realizing we are not the body, we are the soul, okay, and then following so many do's and don'ts, okay, and then out of such very, very rare impersonalist, we had discussed last week 4 types of impersonalist, right? First one was the Brahmavadi. So they're not against the personal feature, they're just indifferent. So 4 Kumaras of they are the sons of Brahmaji, even Shukadeva Goswami, right? They were Brahmavadis, and then with the association of the Lord and then hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, they got attracted to the personal feature of the Lord. So the idea is we do not need to be attracted towards the Jnana Yoga, because it is artificial and needs lot of efforts. Okay, and we are body, we can perceive body only easily. Okay, and another disadvantage is, like, if we do Jnana Marga, we focus mainly on the Sat feature of the Lord. Sat means eternal, and maximum we can go even to the Chit feature. Chit means knowledge. So we are part and parcel of the Lord, means we are part of Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So we are the part of that Supreme Lord who is full ocean of Sat, Chit and Anand. In the Jnana Marga, Anand feature is missing. There is no happiness, there is no bliss. And we can understand this very easily, right? That example of going on a holiday without any Anand. Right? We went to the holidays, we saw the place, we saw the things there, but no, we were not speaking. That bliss, happiness, which we are hankering for, was still missing. So what is the point of spending a lot of efforts, right? But better than that could be to be at home and speak, right? So being a simple devotee is, of course, no devotee is simple, but no point of doing all those charities. Do very little, but to the personal feature. At least that Satchidanand, all the three features will be there. Okay. And then on this regard, this morning only I heard about this material advancement. We were reading Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 11th chapter. So in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada mentions about this material advancement. So much of factories and mills, we feel ourselves that they have made us very advanced. So, but the result is that we have moved away from person to imperson. Means if we have to go from one place to another, now Google Maps is there, so we don't speak to people, we don't go to the shops, right? The interaction of a person with this advancement is moving away from in-person contact to person-less contact. Right? We are always busy in our mobiles. So I wanted to share something very interesting I liked here was, if this material advancement is making us away from personal to impersonal direction, how will we surrender to the supreme personality of Godhead? He is supreme person, right? If we are not associating with the persons also, and if we are moving towards impersonal, there is no bliss. We will get the resources, we will get the things delivered, but no, that is not our natural provision. So, and then the last thing was Archa Vigraha, the purport. So Archa Vigraha is the incarnation of the Lord in the form of Archa Vigraha, right? Same Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. So if we Prabhupada took the example of that mailbox, right? If we put a letter into the mailbox, it means that letter will reach to the destination, right? Because it is authorized. Similarly, Archa Vigraha is the bona fide, accepted in all our scriptures, that Avatara. Archa Vigraha is Archa, incarnation of the Lord. Because our senses are imperfect. Okay, our eyes cannot see the Lord everywhere. The Lord is everywhere, but due to our incapabilities, we cannot see the Lord everywhere. Instead, the Lord takes the form of Archa, and then we should be grateful to the Lord, okay, in serving in that position, instead of just rejecting, because there is no end to our fortune, being misfortune, if we do not take the advantage of that. Okay, I'll go to the next one. 12.6 and 7.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Mataji, please.
Prabhuji, excuse me if you had explained this in the last lecture, but you used the term Brahmavad. So as far as I can understand, both these Brahmavadis and these Mayavadis, they both believe in the impersonal form, isn't it, Prabhuji?
Mataji, this impersonal list, they have the 4 different categories. First one is the Brahmavadis. Okay, Brahmavadis are those who accepts the impersonal feature of the Lord, but they do not disrespect the personal feature. So they are not the offender. It is like, for example, if I am in city A, then I don't know anything about city B, so I don't say anything about good or bad, right? I'm just focusing on what I have to do. But in other lower categories of impersonalist, more down we go, more we disrespect also. So that's why other 3 categories are the categories of offenders. Now you said Mayavadi, right? Mayavadi are those who counts even Krishna as a matter. He took the birth, means he has a body, and then that's why he also has to die one day. The same way that our body is made up of Panchabhuta, Krishna's body is also made up of Panchabhuta. Okay, they do not accept. Not only they accept the personal feature. I mean, they reject that, but they even count that as a simple matter. So they are the biggest offender, Mayavadis. That's why once Srila Prabhupada, because he is very against Mayavadis. Why? Because they are offending the supremacy of the Lord. Okay, so like we would have heard, इस जगत में कोई भी आया है तो सबको अपना दुख भोगना पड़ेगा अपने हिस्से का, चाहे वो भगवान राम ही क्यों ना हो, उनको भी वनवास में जाना पड़ा. तो we just count the Lord as just one person. Okay, so Prabhupada once told his disciples that he will be playing the role of a Mayavadi, and because Prabhupada was so strong in the philosophy, so he defeated all his disciples. They were playing the role of bhaktas, and then Prabhupada took the role of bhakta, and then again he defeated them. So, Mataji, does it answer your question? Or,
Yeah, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you.
thank you, Mataji. Krishna. Okay, I will read the 6 and 7 sloka. They are together. So, ye tu sarvani karmani mai sannyasa mat paraha ananyeva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami na chirat partha mai aveshita chetasam. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their mind upon me, O son of Pratha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So, someone wants to read the purport?
May I, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Thank you. Purport. It is explicitly stated here that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to Him. His duty is to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Maya. As stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on Krishna in order to achieve him. One should work only for Krishna. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for Krishna. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction, just as Arjuna did in the battle of Kurukshetra. The process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Such transcendental chanting attracts the devotees to the personality of Godhead. Should I read further?
Yes, Mataji, let me see. This is big. You can read one or two paragraphs more, Mataji. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. The Supreme Lord herein promises that without delay he will deliver a pure devotee thus engaged from the ocean of material existence. Those who are advanced in yoga practice can willfully transfer the soul to whatever planet they like by the yoga process, and others take the opportunity in various ways. But as far as the devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord himself takes him. The devotee does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky. In the Varaha Purana, this verse appears. Nayami paramam sthanam archir adhigatim vina Garuda skandam aropya yat yatecham anivarita. The purport of this verse is that a devotee does not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga. In order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets, the responsibility is taken by the Supreme Lord Himself. He clearly states here that He Himself becomes the deliverer. A child is completely cared for by his parents and thus his position is secure. Similarly, a devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice to another planet. Rather, the Supreme Lord, by His great mercy, comes at once, riding on His bird carrier Garuda, and at once delivers the devotee from material existence. Although a man who has fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard and may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. But if someone comes and picks him up from the water, then he is easily rescued. Similarly, the Lord picks up the devotee from his material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. Any intelligent man should always prefer the process of devotional service to all other paths. In Narayaniya, this is confirmed as follows. Yahweh sadhana sampatiha purushartha chatustaye taya vina tad apnoti naro narayana shraya. The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different purposes of fruitive activity or cultivate knowledge by the mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from other yogic processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifices, charities, etc. This is the specific benediction of the devotional service. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Can I request some other? Okay, thank you so much.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Someone else wants to read on this one?
Hare Krishna, I'll read Prabhuji.
Yes, please, Mataji. Yes. Simply by
Sim-
chanting.
Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. A devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily, but this destination cannot be approached by any other process of religion. The conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is stated in the 18th chapter. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sarvanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yisyami ma sucha. One should give up all other processes of self-realization and simply execute devotional service in Krishna consciousness. That will enable one to reach the highest perfection of life. There is no need for one to consider the sinful actions of his past life because the Supreme Lord fully takes charge of him. Therefore, one should not futilely try to deliver himself in spiritual realization. Let everyone take shelter of the Supreme Omnipotent Godhead Krishna. That is the highest perfection of life. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So many important points here Srila Prabhupada has given, and the basic thing that Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain here is how the devotional service is perfect. Okay, so we have seen the other side of the story. What are the difficulties in the Jnana Marga? Here, how this Bhakti Marga is superior. Okay, now every place in our entire scriptures, wherever Prabhupada translates the word Bhakti, it is translated as devotional service, right? If you see directly, devotional service means serving the Lord, right, with love, and that is the Hindi equivalent of that is Bhakti. So we are meant to serve because that is our nature. Jivere savrup hoye itte Krishna das. So if we are bound to serve, okay, all the times, then like the same way when we work for a company and without telling that company, if we also work for some other company, then this is called conflict of interest. Because one company will not tolerate that my employee is using his time and energy and the mind in serving some other company when I am paying to that person. So if a mundane company cannot accept we being divided, our loyalty being divided, how about Krishna? He is a person. He has a heart. He has desires. We must remember all of us in this world have something unique. Okay? Which Krishna wants from us. And this unique thing is unique among every living entity in the entire universe. It does not mean if I have that unique thing, okay, of course, that unique thing which we have, nobody else has. But like that, everyone else also has something else unique. So that's why the Lord, how much ever bad, how much ever worst we are in our behavior, in our in our everything, the Lord will never reject us. He is always and always hopeful that one day we will surrender to him. So we must be grateful. Okay, what is the proof that the Lord is never rejecting us? Because in the form of Paramatma, whichever living form we are into, maybe an ant or a worm or a bacteria, the Lord is there inside us. Even in that bad condition also, there is a proof that the Lord never rejects us, and He does not need any qualification at all. Okay. I cannot recall the sloka number, but I had heard this long time back. Like there were many examples taken from Srimad Bhagavatam that what richness Sudama had, right? Still the Lord accepted him. What Ugrasena, right? He was not counted in a very brave category. Okay, so what very heroic work did the Ugrasena had done that the Lord accepted him? What great scholars were the gopis that they accepted him, that the Lord accepted him? Means, and similarly, in terms of age, right? Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, they were like child only, right? If someone say we have to be a great Brahmana, then even in the form of animal like Gajendra, right? The Lord accepted him. So Lord, and then the fruit seller woman, right? There are so many things. The Lord does not expect anything great among us. I mean, He just needs our very little seriousness, and if we take one step, there is no end. Lord is always running towards us. There is no point in asking anything to the Lord. He is giving us without even asking. Okay, if someone says, this also came in the purport. So if someone, some yogi feels that he can cross the ocean of nescience. So science means Vigyan, right? Nescience means it is opposite of Vigyan. Vigyan means something which can be experimented and proven, and then which always holds true. But in this world, it is full of nescience. Why? Because we do the same mistake again and again. Okay, and this Maya Devi is always teaching us the lesson. Okay, putting us into the problem and again, so that we become hopeless for this world and look towards only Krishna. So if someone feels that he can cross the ocean of this nescience, basically this material world, by his own efforts of getting the knowledge, right? doing the various yoga techniques mentioned in 6th chapter, right? Then that is not possible. But if we just take the shelter of the Lord, then the same way that a helicopter comes and takes a drowning person away from the ocean, similarly, a Lord, like he came for Gajendra on the Garuda, seems very close to that helicopter example. He takes us away, okay, and saves us from this ocean. And then the reference of this one, last 18.66, right? Sarvadharmana Parityaja, that was taken. Because Mam Ekam Sharanam Bhaja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papibhyo, means I will purify you, I will free you from all the sins. Just surrender unto me. So the biggest qualification that we need to have is to accept that we have no qualification. And the day we start feeling ourselves into that lower position, why does the Lord say that we should be humble? Because if we are not humble, we are going to fall down. Humbleness is the position of feeling ourselves down already, okay, and giving respect to everybody else. Why? Because not because we are actually fallen down, but because we do not want to go into that argument mode that I am superior. Okay, we are down. If somebody says anything, we are down only. Okay, because our focus now is not in argument. Our focus is now is to know, love, what is the relationship with the Lord, what we should do for Him, right? How to make Him pleased. Now that is our focus. So we do not need to be unnecessarily spending our time into proving ourselves superior when we know we are not. Okay, so we'll go to the next shloka. It is very interesting. I mean, we can discuss it on and on. The point is that we have to serve the Lord, and the easiest way, most effective, most sublime way of serving the Lord is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have spent our lives and lives being hopeful. That moment has not yet come. Okay? So we do not want liberation, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadish kami, mama janmani janmaneshware, mama janmani janmaneshware, bhavta bhaktya hetu kitavai. So life after life, I want only your devotional service. I don't want any good birth, good wife, or many followers, and nothing. Because that becomes an hindrance in a way. If we are not that much qualified, okay, then those things will give us proud, and it will be very difficult to feel ourselves low if those things are there. It does not mean we should seek poverty or problems, because we are not at that platform like Kunti Maharani. Okay, it is said that if we have so many problems in our life, and if our devotion is not that strong, that like an air, consider air as devotion service, and the problems in our heart as the fire. If the problems are so much, then that air cannot remove that fire. It will even increase that. Okay, so problem should be there. Okay, and if if small spark or fire something is there, then that our devotional service can easily wipe it off. So the point is, we should ask the Lord so that He keeps us engaged into His service, and we should always be doing 5% or 10% extra than our comfort zone. That is the whole meaning of this thing. We should not be in comfort zone, because then we cannot progress. 10% extra of what we can do is the key. Okay. Again, I'm repeating it what I heard recently in my morning classes. I'm studying business. Okay. Next one, the last. This is Mayeva eva mana adhashva Mai buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi Mayeva at urdhavana samshaya. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always without a doubt. Anyone who wants to read the last one of today? Okay.
Hare
I will
Krishna,
read.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, Mataji, please.
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. One who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane. He lives in Krishna. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, and his internal potency or dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When he offers Krishna's food, Krishna directly accepts these eatables and the devotee becomes Krishnaized by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so. Although this is a process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So this word become Krishnaized means become Krishna conscious. Okay. So in this regard, like actually from shloka number 12.8 onwards, Lord is explaining different levels of devotional service in a descending order. Means the topmost, the highest is what is explained in 12.8. If someone cannot do that, 12.9. So that will be discussed in the further chapters. So this is the first one, highest one. Just fix your mind upon me. Okay, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always without a doubt. So here the 2 points are emphasized basically. One is just fix your mind. So Mayeva, the first word, right? It means only and only me exclusively. And we discussed the example of a person working for 2 companies, right? And the next point that is focused here by Krishna is engage your intelligence. So what is the use of intelligence? It's a very important thing again to understand. The use of intelligence is basically to discriminate. Intelligence means vivek in Hindi. So it gives us the discriminating power. May I request to mute? Yeah, that's okay. So intelligence helps to discriminate what is good and what is bad for me. So in this regard, if you remember, we had discussed hammer, like check your every thought, okay, before it goes inside our mind, right? Hammer every thought, every Krishna consciousness thought only. If something is not related to Krishna consciousness, then let it not go inside. So I'm not able to recall in which company that logo part we had discussed. Hammer every thought. Someone can remember, please share. So the point is like we should be using our intelligence to discriminate what thought is going to help me. Okay. So, and then the next thing which was emphasized here was devotees does not live on the material platform. Okay, but they are in the direct, constant touch with the Lord. How they are in direct touch? Because the devotees are always serving the Lord either through japa or through his kirtan through prasadam, through a service in the home altar, taking care of the devotees. So all these are the different ways of serving the Lord. And it is said, abhinatva nama namino, means there is no difference between the Lord and his name. In this regard, something very, very interesting I want to share here is, once Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, he goes to Vrindavana, and after that, when he returns, he said, in Vrindavana, I did not meet even a single Brijvasi. And then when devotees questioned, what does that mean? Because everybody there is Brijvasi. So Maharaj explained that Brijvasi means who are always sacrificing their comforts, okay, for the pleasure of the Lord. Then Maharaj said that my disciples who are distributing the books in Kolkata, they are in the Gopi Bhav instead, because they are not worried about their comforts. They are doing the service which is recommended by the Lord, which pleases the Lord. So point is, it does not matter. Of course, being in Dham itself is purifying. Okay, that consciousness is the key that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj was explaining. So devotees distributing the books selflessly pleases the Lord more. And very importantly, like we had discussed, right? Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. We had discussed it for this point days back. So this is again re-established by Srila Prabhupada here, right? So, and one of the easiest way, at least in the beginning stage, it has to be continued forever, okay? But the most easiest way of getting into the bhakti is through prasadam, because again, there is no difference between Krishna and Krishnas. Krishna and Krishnas. Anything of Krishna and Krishna, there is no difference. So this is the food remnants of Krishna, and this is like called prasadam, and then this purifies our heart, because we don't know whether when we chant whether that Mahamantra, how much we will be able to focus. I'm sure with all our sincere efforts, okay, when we at least try to apply that here, listening to the first Hari, it will help us. Okay? But when we eat the prasadam, when we order the prasadam, then it goes inside definitely. So we can see there is no ambiguity in that. Okay, prasadam goes inside, and when we serve the Lord by all these means, then we become surcharged. Okay, even the body of a devotee is no more material in that case. Sant Tukaram Maharaj went to the Lord, okay, in the very same body. So the body of a devotee is also spiritualized, because he is in the direct, constant association of the Lord and his devotees. And the analogy that Prabhupada took here was the iron rod. If that iron rod remains in the constant touch of the fire, that iron rod itself becomes fire. So we have to be surcharged more and more by serving the Lord more and more. So with this, yeah, we're done. I see Mataji, Nandini Mataji has raised the hand. You have any question or comments, Mataji?
Well, sorry, Prabhuji, I just thought I'll read one sloka or something. Sorry.
Okay. No problem, Mataji. So you can read this purport again, Mataji. It is very nice. I mean, 1 minute is left. We can read it again. It is very good.
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna. One who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt that his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane, he lives in Krishna. The holy name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts these eatables and the devotee becomes Krishna is by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so. Although this is in a process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures. Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So one thing I'm sure many of us would have realized, we read the same purport around 7 or 8 minutes back, and now again. So thanks to Nandini Mataji. So did we feel the difference, like reading it first time, discussing about it, and then reading it second time? Every single word was much more with life, means it was going to the heart with much more intensity. Okay. And
Today onwards, when we chant or when we eat Krishna Prasad, we will remember these lines and yeah.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So I'll just share. We are already done with the time, so those who have some other appointment may continue. I'll just share one small pastime of Srila Prabhupada in next 2 minutes, and then we can wind up. So once a person asks Srila Prabhupada that you offer the bhoga to the Lord 6 times in a day, and are you sure the idol? He does not say deity or Archa Vigraha. He says, are you sure this idol accepts what you eat, what you offer? Do they eat it? And then the answer that Srila Prabhupada gives was Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prachati. What is that? Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam
Sadam Bhakti.
Sadaham Bhaktya Upahritam Ashnami.
Sadam Bhakti Upahritam Ashnami
Prayatmana.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Asnami Prayatatmana. So the word Asnami means the Lord accepts. Okay. So Prabhupada said, should I hear what Lord himself is saying that I accept? Or should I hear you rascal? Okay. Means the person was doubting whether Krishna eats or not. And Krishna is saying I eat. So we must not have any doubt. Okay. And because Lord is telling. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, we can discuss. Otherwise, we're done for today. Okay. Thank you so much, and kindly pray for me. We all, so that, because that is our only hope. That only can help us to get some taste. Because Lord is more pleased when we are in the prayers of the devotees, rather than we directly approaching the Lord. Lord is more pleased when some devotees praise for us. So if I have made any mistake, kindly forgive me and request you for your sincere blessings and prayer. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful class. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful class. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, with your permission, can I end the meeting, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Thank you,
Mataji.
Thank you all. We'll meet tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam to everyone.
Hare Krishna. Pranam.